FLM, wide open thinking, world-class work, and far-reaching results. Now with locations in Minneapolis, Columbus, Indianapolis, and Washington, D.C. A strategic marketing and communications company dedicated to serving clients who specialize in the business of agriculture and the life of rural communities.
Senator David Perdue from the state of Georgia, thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here. It's good to see you, Spencer.
Well, for starters, can you tell us a little bit about what makes Georgia agriculture?
You know, the fact that Georgia is the best place in the country right now to do business, and agriculture is 50% of our GDP, it makes it very special. But I think the real thing that sets it apart is the people. You know, we've got small family operations, we've got big corporations, and all of them are really at the forefront, I think, of their individual interests. From Gary Black, who's the Agri Commissioner in the state, to Zippy Duval, who runs the Farm Bureau. I mean, we've got a lot of very talented, very sophisticated farmers in Georgia, and I'm proud to be up here representing them.
Now, for starters, can you tell us how growing up working in agriculture helped shape your business interests and ultimately your character when you were running for Senate?
Wow. Well, you know, when you grow up working on a farm, you learn what work is. And for a while, I helped out on a dairy farm, and I understand what cows need 4:30 in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon every single day. But, you know, I think that work ethic and getting results, you're dependent on the weather greatly, as you well know. And I think one of the things that you learn growing up on a farm is that not always hard work produces results. And so you've got to deal with the vagaries of risk and chance and that sort of thing. You make investments, you get results. But I think the other thing is being able to work with the other people in the community. I remember when ag agents used to show up and help us, you know, become more productive, try out a new seed, do whatever. And today, unfortunately, I think we've got regulators and people who are overseeing the ag business that are really more punitive in nature. They're looking to find out where violations occur and that sort of thing. And I hope we can get back to the day when we're all trying to do the same thing, and that's to grow our ag business, not only to feed America, but to feed the world.
Now, you've also got a lot of experience, not just in agribusiness, but in business as a whole. You've led several companies, especially in their revamping efforts. So how did that business experience help you when you got to the Senate? And in particular, how does that experience help you bring a different perspective to the Senate Ag Committee?
Well, you know, I think there are two parts to that question. The first part is, with a business background, you're focused on results. You're focused on meeting needs of consumers and of employees and all the stakeholders for that matter. And sometimes in Congress, we get so focused on activity and forget about results. And I think therein lies a big, big difference. The unintended consequences of the regulatory environment today is so profound, it's so far-reaching, that I don't think many people here realize the full detriment that it's having on our economy. I think some of this overregulation is sucking the very life out of our ag business. The potential danger of waters of the U.S., all these other EPA requirements that we've seen come down here in the last couple of years. But you know, I think the bigger issue is it gives me an outside perspective. I've spent my career doing what most farmers in Georgia are doing, and that's to try to make a profit at the end of the year and to keep the business surviving. As you said, I was called in to help revitalize, as you say, a couple of companies, and it really did come out of my background growing up. I didn't know it at the time, but dealing with adversity and risk and that sort of thing helped me focus on the real objective, and that is providing a customer with what they want at a price that they want to pay. It's pretty simple. Up here, it gets a little more complicated, but if we were to listen to people back home tell us what they really need, then some of the answers up here would be a lot more direct in terms of getting it done.
Now, what do you see as some of the biggest issues right now facing not only Georgia agriculture, but agriculture as a whole?
Clearly, overregulation. That's the number one thing I hear, whether it's the bankers that fund the investments in ag, to the farmers, to the end product users, to the processors and so forth. You know, obviously, we have to have regulation. We want to protect the land and the water. But I'll tell you this, the people who husband their assets the best are the farmers of America. They don't want to, most of them are family farms. They don't want to pass down, you know, land that's been depleted or water that's been damaged or air that makes no sense. So they protect their asset as well as anybody. The over-regulations, though, have created an environment that's very punitive. It thwarts the ability to really compete with the rest of the world in many ways. And I think therein lies one of the challenges. One of the opportunities we have in the industry is to grow our exports as a state and as a country. But to do that, we've got to create a level playing field. This trade issue is one of the top issues that we've been working on this year, and how it relates to the ag business is profound. We're beginning to open up some markets. Broilers, for example, poultry in Japan and Southeast Asia is being opened up now for the first time in many years, maybe forever. And I think that bodes well for the opportunities that we see. I mean, Georgia right now is the largest producer of poultry, peanuts, broilers and blueberries and peanuts and pecans, and a major player in cotton as well. So this trade issue is going to be continue to be a very important part of what I do up here in listening to the community and trying to help them compete globally.
Now, obviously, agriculture is part of your public service, but it's not the only aspect of what you do here in the Senate. What do you see as some of the big issues facing your state and facing this country outside of your work in agriculture and in your other committee work?
Well, it's a great question, Spencer. It's why I got pulled into this personally. I'd never been interested in politics. My mom and dad were school teachers. I grew up working on our family farms. I worked my way through Georgia Tech, got an engineering degree, and ended up having a 40-year business career where I was fortunate enough to run a couple of pretty big companies. But you know, the world that I see right now, and what pulled me into this political arena, is to try to change the direction of our country because of two things. We have an absolute five-alarm global security crisis. At the same time, we have a financial catastrophe. This financial crisis that we have right now is the underpinning of the global security crisis, and it endangers our ability to even solve the global security crisis. Those are the two biggest, most profound issues facing our country today. The fact that we have so many people not working today is also another manifestation of failed policies. Over the last 100 years, we've had three supermajorities. The first gave us the New Deal, the second gave us the Great Society, and the third gave us Obamacare and Dodd-Frank. And yet, today, those sweeping federal programs have failed, many of them, in terms of achieving the goals that they set out. For example, today's poverty rate is exactly the same as it was the day the Great Society was signed. What we've seen is that the working men and women of America want big government reduced. They want government out of the way so they can focus on running their businesses and running their lives and getting back to work. You know, to solve this debt crisis, it's pretty simple. We've got to change the way we fund our federal government. That means really changing the way we raise taxes or derive revenue from whatever method that we have. The second is we've got to push back on the regulatory environment like I've just talked about. And the third, maybe the most profound, is we've got to unleash this tremendous potential that we have in energy. We do that, we'll grow the economy. But we've also got to cut spending. Our federal government's grown from $2.4 trillion in 2000 to $3.8 trillion this year in 2015, in 15 short years. And that's in constant dollars. And only $100 billion of that increase is military. So we've got a tremendous opportunity to look at redundant agencies that have not been authorized and reauthorized in years, to cut the expenses. But the really big opportunity we have is to save Social Security and save Medicare.
Obviously, campaigning for a position like a membership in the United States Senate is a long, arduous process. There's a lot that goes into it. But ultimately, at some point, you've got to decide that you want to throw your hat in the ring. For you, when was that moment that you knew that you wanted to serve in the United States Senate?
I think when I realized that, you know, there are so few people in the Senate especially that have a business background. And I didn't see the obvious priority set that people were working on up here was consistent with solving that debt crisis. And then as you saw the growth of the risks abroad in this global security crisis with ISIS and a nuclear Iran and all of that, the rise of the rival states in Russia and China, it was probably in the spring to summer of 2013 that I realized that I could add a unique perspective to the effort up here to change the direction of our country. You know, I'm not unique up here. There are a lot of well-intentioned people. The difficulty is that they all work hard. I think that the Senate and the House sometimes get distracted with all the activity, and we lose sight of the results that we're really trying to go after.
Senator David Perdue from the state of Georgia, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Spencer.